Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast of your favorite team in the Bay Area. And we have a bonus episode for you right now. I have Jay from Locked On Blue Jackets on. So we're going to talk about two tanking teams, kind of what we expect these teams to do at the trade deadline, and kind of keys for today's Sharks Blue Jackets game. So all that and more on today's episode of Locked On Sharks.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm your host, JD Young, contributor at Fear the Fin and San Jose Hockey Now. I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch this on YouTube as well. And another bonus edition. So you got 7 episodes this week, right? You got a Montana Onyebuchi episode. You got my Timo Meier, why the Sharks are going to lose, a Timo Meier trade talk episode. You've got 2 previews, you got recaps, you got it all covered here. So fun talk with Jay, good buddy of mine in real life. So it was fun to kind of talk about 2 bad teams. We talked about Erik Karlsson, we talked about the trade deadline, and talk about why the Sharks are probably going to win this game. So enjoy.
Blue Jackets have had one battle for Bedard this week already, and now they are on to a second one. Although at least the Sharks are playing semi-fun hockey, which is not something that you can say about every basement team. And who better to talk about the Sharks than the last content boy standing? We've got JD Young of Locked On Sharks here to talk. I figured we'd just talk about Erik Karlsson for the next 28 minutes. Is that okay with you?
I am perfectly happy with talking about Erik Karlsson for as long as you would like. We could just go off crazy Erik Karlsson stats, and that could fill an entire episode if we wanted to.
That was, yeah. So as a little bit of inside information for Locked On Sharks fans, my fiance is a Sharks fan from San Jose. And so all through the game last night, I just got a bunch of texts about how handsome Erik Karlsson is and how she's going to run away with him. And I'm like, you know what? Normally I'd be mad, but I kind of understand. So,
he's on a rampage on the ice and off the ice right now.
Truly. That's kind of where I want to start, actually, is obviously the Sharks are kind of going through the same motions as the Blue Jackets at the minute, where they're just so god-awful, except for like one guy. And that guy on the Sharks is Erik Karlsson, who's having a casual 60-point season so far. Was this expected? Did you see this coming?
No. I have been a very staunch Erik Karlsson defender since day one, right? I mean, go check the receipts. I've been very much Erik Karlsson's awesome. Erik Karlsson could be awesome. I, in my wildest dreams, did not expect a potential 100-point season out of Erik Karlsson. He has 62 points so far in 46 games. Ridiculous. He is 5th in the NHL in scoring. That's for not just that's everybody. 5th in the NHL in scoring. On pace for, I think, casual 106 points this season. He's had 4 4-point games as well this year. What he's doing in the offensive zone is beyond our wildest dreams. We haven't seen a 100-point defenseman since Paul Coffey did it in 91-92. I was 6'7". I'm sure, Jay, you were just not even.
I was not even around then.
Yes, like that. This is what we. Every time it's like Erik Karlsson's done something since 1980 or since Bobby Orr, like things we have not seen a season like what we're seeing out of Erik Karlsson right now. And he's, like you said, the Sharks are bad. The Sharks have been kind of threading the needle of being really, really fun and entertaining to watch, but still losing a bunch of games. And if you're a tanking team, I don't think you can ask for much more than that. Because there's nothing worse than just slogging through games and nothing fun to excite about it. So, Erik Karlsson is awesome. What he's doing night in, night out of being just the best player on the ice. It's a treat to watch Erik Karlsson just play hockey again.
It sure is. I watched a bunch of Sharks games while I was out there in October, and I kept joking about like, man, what are you going to do when I go home and Erik Karlsson stops scoring? Because I assumed that was what's going to happen. My hockey powers can only be used for evil, you know? And he just kind of kept on going. And this is something I actually talked about with, I just recorded with JD South, as we call him, JD Hernandez of Locked On Ducks, about, how much it sucks to watch a tanking team and they're not even fun. Like, the Blue Jackets have been just atrocious, especially recently. They've lost 15 of their last 18 games. They've had some kind of fun wins in there. The game against the Red Wings was pretty fun. They ended up winning that one, but they almost let a 4-goal lead slip away. But for the most part, it's just been, they go down early and then they don't get back up. And it's just, like you said, it's a slog. It is so truly unpleasant to watch. Like, I would accept losing if they were also being fun at the same time. And I think that's what the Sharks are getting at the minute, which is, like you said, it's not a terrible way to watch a tanking team.
So we all kind of expected the Blue Jackets to kind of be better this, maybe not a playoff team, but like
not this.
Not this, right? Not one of the worst, if not the, one of the worst teams in the NHL. What happened this year? Is it injuries? Is it, you guys signed Johnny Gaudreau and that felt like, okay, this team's going to kind of maybe take the next step. What happened?
God, it's kind of a combination of a lot of things. I think luck plays into it. The Blue Jackets have been pretty unlucky this season, I feel like, and I don't know if this is confirmation bias because I watch a lot of the Blue Jackets games, obviously, and so I always feel like there's an unlucky bounce or, there's a missed penalty call, things like that. And then, that's, small picture stuff. Big picture stuff, they've got 3 guys out at the minute with torn labrums, done for the season. Jake Voracek might not be back ever. He's almost certainly done for this season at least. So there you've got 4 guys that have missed. 4, Zach Werenski, Jake Bean, Justin Danforth, who admittedly is a depth guy, and Jake Voracek. But there's, 2 of your top 4 defensemen and 1 of your top 6 forwards out for 70 games of the season. So like injuries haven't helped. Coaching has been just abysmal. Like, and this is something that I'm not going to get super in depth into because my listeners have heard it all before. Your listeners probably don't care about the intricacies of Brad Larsen's coaching decisions. But if your 4th line grinders are playing almost double the minutes a night of your young players, like, that feels like there's a problem there. That feels like there's a disconnect. And he can go on about preaching patience and you have to approach these young players the right way. I'm sure you're seeing a similar sort of thing with, Bordeaux and Eklund at the minute of, I just want them to play. Why aren't they in the NHL? Well, because they probably get the Cole Sillinger treatment of playing 8 minutes a night and then getting scratched immediately after making a goal happen or whatever. So it's been a lot of different things. Goaltending has been brutal. It's starting to pick up. I know that that's a weird thing to say after they just allowed 5 goals for like the 17th time this season, but goaltending has started to pick up. Their young goalie, Daniil Tarasov, their 3rd string guy, he's been very good. I know that's kind of a problem when your 3rd string goalie has been your best player. Your starter that's signed for the next 5 years has been by far the worst of your 3 goalies, but
the Martin Jones effect.
The Martin Jones of it all.
Yes.
I think. And like in terms of like in defense of Elvis, I do think he is still struggling a lot with, the what happened in the summer of 2021 with Matisse Kivlenix. I think that's a big factor in all of this. He says he's fine, but I don't think
anybody could be fine after something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And so like it's frustrating to watch as a fan because you want your goaltending to be good and you want it to succeed. And it's frustrating when that doesn't happen, but it's also frustrating when you look at the reason why, because I feel bad criticizing Elvis because I feel like he, more than most goalies in this league, has a valid reason to be struggling. And he's mad at himself about it. He's come out multiple times being like, listen, I know that I can do better than this. I know I need to be better. I am losing the team games right now. And that's really hard to hear as someone who is a goalie fan, who is an Elvis fan specifically, But it's just like you say, it's the answer to what has been the problem is kind of just everything. A lot of guys are having down years. Johnny Gaudreau has been a real bright spot in all of this. He's up to, I believe, 42 points on the season, which is, it's not Erik Karlsson levels, but I think it's respectable for a guy on just a really bad team. So it's... And Patrick Laine has been in and out of the lineup as well. We go back to injuries. I believe they've got 2 players at the minute who have played in every game so far. It's not been good. Every aspect of this season has been bad. And every time you think they're turning a corner, someone else gets injured, or the goaltending falls off a cliff, or someone goes 12 games without scoring a goal. It's been brutal and endless. And I am going to lose my mind when Chicago gets Connor Bedard in July.
No, the karma, buddy. Karma will prevent it.
I keep holding on to that.
Yes, karma will, and we know old Gary's gonna rig this bad boy for Arizona. That way they've got Bedard, new arena with Bedard. Yes, anyway, but
you heard it here first, folks.
Yes. So, all right, guys, before we continue, we get into some trade deadline talk. We talk about Timo Meier. Then, of course, we give out the keys to today's game. Do want to take a quick break, talk to you guys about our friends over at Built Bar. It's a new year, new me situation here. But, you don't want to give up those little treats every once in a while. Why give up a treat when you can actually just have a healthier treat? So Built Bar, they are a protein bar that tastes like a candy bar covered in 100% real chocolate. Great flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, coconut almond. And if you're like me and you're impatient, you like to wait for things to come in the mail, you can just go to Walmart and pick up a 4-pack box. They have great flavors like cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puffs. Or if you got a Sam's Club nearby, you got that Sam's Club membership, go grab a 13-bar box with their hit flavors like brownie, batter, and churro. Or go to built.com and check out a variety of flavors and have them sent to you. That way you can kind of taste test them all and find out which is your flavor. So again, go check out built.com or head to your local Walmart or Sam's Club to grab a box today. All right. Trade deadline. So both these teams are kind of on the same path, right, of being bad teams, right? They're both bad teams. 6 weeks away from the trade deadline. I know. What are the Blue Jackets going to be kind of active? Do they have pieces that they're going to try to sell off? I know it's a lot of guys who've been injured and stuff. What do you think the Blue Jackets do heading into the trade deadline here?
Yeah. So they have, I believe, 3 definite pieces. They have Gus Nyquist, pending UFA. Vladislav Gavrikov, defenseman, is a pending UFA as well. I know. I'm going to be so sad when they trade Gus Nyquist. I love him. I think he's so underrated.
Yes.
Which I think is good because they can probably I think they could get a first-round pick for a guy like Gus Nyquist. He's been having a pretty good season. He had a good season last year. He's one of those veteran guys that people love. Vladislav Gavrikov has kind of had a brutal season, but he plays the kind of hockey where, guys just go nuts for that. Apparently the asking price for him is a first-round pick and a prospect, which, yes, please. I will take that. The third piece is kind of a bit more of a question mark, which is Joonas Korpisalo, who is expiring. He's a pending UFA. He signed a 1-year contract. I think just to kind of figure out the goaltending position, because the expectation was they signed Elvis long-term. The expectation was he would step into the starters net. And then he has spent much of this season struggling or injured or sick or, just all of the above. And so now I'm wondering, do they move Korpisalo? He's got I think he's got a 906 so far this season. So the numbers aren't great, but
it's on
I still think it's on a bad team. And
yes.
I think he could be a pretty decent pickup for, say maybe a team like Florida, which looks like they have at least one goalie on IR and another goalie who had to leave the game.
Yes.
As of, not long before recording this. So we're recording this Friday night. Nope.
Thursday night.
Recording this Thursday night. It's Friday morning here.
Yes.
So I looked at the Friday thing. But my point is, I don't know whether they will trade Korpisalo just because I think they might need him just to have enough goalies to finish the season. But he's definitely an option for a team that needs a goalie. We're looking at maybe a team like Edmonton or
The
Florida
Kings
or
or there's a bit
the Kings
every
is another great example. Yeah. Just
or
a veteran guy that
Toronto.
maybe probably won't start games, but is there if they need someone to.
Yeah, and I think the Sharks are kind of in the same spot, right? Talking about goalies, you look at James Reimer, who's also a UFA. I think he's got a 5-team trade, no trade, whatever. But Reimer is a good guy. He will probably waive that, especially if he can go play meaningful playoff hockey, which is something the Sharks haven't done for a while. And I think Reimer's a guy who will be definitely out the door. Kaapo Kähkönen's kind of been the same, kind of almost the same thing, where they traded for him last season. They signed him to a 2-year extension, kind of like $2.5 million extension, hoping that he would be kind of the goalie of the future, would kind of take that starter's net and take that reign from James Reimer. But James Reimer just keeps fighting off any challenger. It's pretty funny. Anytime the Sharks bring in a young goalie, he just smacks him down and says, "This is my net here." So
it's the Jonathan Quick effect. It's very funny.
Jonathan, yes. So, but Kaapo Kähkönen really hasn't had the season that Sharks fans expected from him. Played really well after getting traded last year in a kind of a 9-game sample size, but really kind of has struggled this year, and the defense hasn't been helpful. And with the Sharks this year, it's a lot of like the defense will play really well for like 95% of the time, and then they make like a catastrophic mistake, and then the goalie isn't able to help them out. So it's kind of a little bit of a chicken or the egg situation of, is it the defense or is it the goaltending, or it's probably a little bit of both of, they don't cover a guy and you leave a guy wide open next to the goalie. They go like there's not much, Kaapo Kähkönen or Reimer or whoever's there, there's not much they're going to be able to do. So it's a little bit of, that's why like Reimer and Kaapo Kähkönen's numbers are lower than you expect. Both of them under a 900 save percentage right now. But Kaapo Kähkönen is still young. I still think he can kind of turn around. He's started to play better recently. I expect him to be the starter for this game. Reimer played on Wednesday, and the Sharks win against the Stars, and the Sharks play again on Sunday against the Bruins. No disrespect, but I think you probably want Reimer against the Bruins just to give yourself a little bit better chance to try to win that game. It's going to be a very wild swing of Blue Jackets to Bruins here.
That's a real
yeah.
I mean, if that means, and this is something that we can talk about in the next segment, but if that gives us Kähkönen, I think the Blue Jackets keep running into starting goalies by accident. And I just think it would be nice if they got to play someone who was also struggling,
Yeah. But I mean, Reimer, I think, is definitely one out the door. Guys like, kind of more depth guys like Matt Nieto and Nick Bonino. Both of those guys are UFAs, can go.
Nick Bonino feels like a perfect depth pickup for a team like the Lightning, who just need a guy to win faceoffs. You need
a guy to win faceoffs. He can play on the PK.
Anton Vermette trade from 2015.
Yep, he can win some faceoffs. He can play on the PK. He can add some scoring, some depth scoring here and there. Good guy in the locker room. All that, all that fun stuff. So guys like that, need it. But the big piece though is Timo Meier, who is a RFA. So the Sharks. He does have one more year where you can give him a qualifying offer, but it's a $10 million deal. So that's a qualifying offer. I assume if a team wants to trade for him, they're going to work out a long-term contract right away. But Timo Meier is really good at hockey. He's on pace for 45 to 50 goals right now. He is a top line winger, basically on anybody's team. He shoots a lot. He's accurate. He's big. He doesn't get hurt. He's going to help your power play. And it's basically going to come down to, if Timo Meier wants to be a Shark, then Mike Grier will work to make him a Shark. If Timo Meier doesn't want to be a Shark anymore, then the Sharks are going to have to trade him. And it's probably going to be something like the Alex DeBrincat package of a first-round pick and a very high-end prospect, I think is going to be the starting. And there's been teams you can look at, basically the Rangers, the Devils, the Islander, kind of like all those teams there as potential guys who can, looking for a guy like Timo Meier to just kind of step in and help them kind of make that push here.
Yeah, that feels like that's not going to be a deadline day trade. I feel like that is we are trading and signing this guy. It's a Matthew Tkachuk type trade of it's going to be just massive, which might be good. And because you'll get a lot of good pieces. But on the flip side, you won't have Timo Meier anymore. So, it's really a win-lose scenario, I guess. So I guess my final question to you on the Timo Meier thing is, what, do you want to keep Timo Meier? Would you rather have pieces for the future, or do you think he's still young enough that you can sign him long-term and build around him?
I think you can sign Timo Meier and build around him. He's only 26 this year. The last 2 years, he's really kind of started to enter his prime. So if you sign him to an 8-year deal, starting at 27, so his age 27 to age 34 season, if I kind of, doing my math correctly. And the way he plays the game is, I don't think his game is going to just kind of all of a sudden fall off. He's fast, but he's not like the fastest guy. That he doesn't kind of, he plays using his size, right? Like he kind of just bullies people. He'll run, power to the net. And then he does a great job of kind of creating his own space. And I don't think his game is going to age poorly. Do I expect 45, 50 goals a year? No, but I mean, I think you can kind of safely pencil in 30 plus goals for the next 4 to 5 years. And then if you're bringing on your guys like Eklund and Bordelot along in a top 5 pick in this draft class, et cetera, you can start to see where maybe the Sharks can kind of start to get back on track here, especially in the forward department. So, and I've been doing research on why I think the Sharks are going to lose the Timo Meier trade, and just I'll spoil a little bit. Maybe who knows with time if I actually got this out. I went through the past 12 or 10 years back to 2012 and looked at every every player that was traded for a first round pick that wasn't a draft day trade. So like you didn't know what pick you were getting. The average pick comes out to 22.84. So you're basically trading Timo Meier for the 23rd pick in the draft.
It's
a big risk. Here's the last couple. 2022 Blues pick Jimmy Snuggerud. 2021 Dallas pick Wyatt Johnson. 2020 the Flyers pick Tyson Forrester. 2019 the Oilers pick Simon Holmstrom. 2018 the Ducks pick Isaac Lundstrom. 2017 Arizona picked Pierre Oliver Joseph. 2016 the Panthers picked Henrik Borgstrom. Would you trade Timo Meier?
I feel like it's kind of too early to tell on the.
I mean, some of those guys, yes, like Wyatt Johnson, I think is gonna be good and stuff like that. Yeah. But like,
it's a big risk.
You're trading a pretty much a sure thing in Timo Meier, who's going to be a top line forward for you for the next 4 or 5 years, for some picks and prospects who statistically aren't going to be as good as Timo Meier. So
I feel like all of this is really setting us up to for Timo Meier to do the thing that Timo Meier does, which is drink his tiny coffee and then score a bunch of goals against the Blue Jackets. I consider myself a part-time LA Kings fan, I guess, and I am still vaguely traumatized by the Timo Meier 5-goal performance. And I don't want that to happen again, but looking at Timo Meier and looking at the Blue Jackets, like, it genuinely wouldn't shock me. So I guess let's talk about the game. Keys to the game. What do the Sharks have to do to beat the Blue Jackets, apart from like literally just play any competent hockey ever?
I think if Erik Karlsson and kind of Timo Meier continue to play the way we've seen them play this year, right? Erik Karlsson coming off a 4-point performance against the Stars, and if he starts cooking it, especially on the power play, which I think the Sharks have a huge special teams advantage against the Blue Jackets in this game. I know the Sharks power play, the numbers don't look as good. I think they're like 20th right now in the NHL, but I think they're kind of, especially that first unit power play. They're kind of weird. Their first unit power play is great. The second unit power play looks more like a PK unit.
It's some guys.
There's just 5 guys who can kind of give the other guys a break type of thing. So they're very much a star scrubs approach with the power play.
Do you know what I would do for a power play to be 20th in the league right now?
Oh, I'm sure right now. But yeah, I think the Sharks special teams are going to be a huge advantage in this game. So I think if Capo Kakinen can play competently, and then if Timo Meier and Erik Karlsson can continue to do Timo Meier and Erik Karlsson things, if Erik Karlsson creating the transition game, finding open guys in the offensive zone, just kind of dangling the jockstrap off of other dudes, and then finding Timo Meier wide open. We've seen that a lot, and that's kind of been the recipe for success for the Sharks this season. And then if anybody in the bottom 6 scores, if Steven Lorentz scores, if Noah Gregor can hit the net, Nick Bonino, if any of these guys scores, the Sharks usually kind of find a way to win the game. Now for the Blue Jackets, what's the kind of the road to success for the Blue Jackets in this game?
I will start small. My goals for this game is that no one gets hurt, no one gets injured. I would like at least one tape-to-tape pass in the neutral zone. Just one. That is all I'm asking. Just one.
Warm-ups included.
And honestly, it's kind of, again, it comes back to a combination of things. I think the goaltending needs to be as good, if not better, than it's been the last couple of games. Daniil Tarasov will maybe be starting, depending on the goalies are going through a bit of a weird thing at the minute. Joonas Korpisalo has just been away for personal reasons. So he's back with the team now, I believe. I don't know whether he's going to be playing on Saturday. So it's kind of up in the air about who the goalie's even going to be, but the goalie needs to be good. Because I know that we've just talked about how, the Sharks are just it's basically 2 guys and a bunch of other dudes, but those 2 guys can really make someone's life difficult if they decide to turn it on. And we've seen that both of these guys sometimes just decide to have a game.
To be the best guy. Yeah, I'm going to just be the best player on the ice tonight, so yeah.
Yeah, sometimes Erik Karlsson just decides that, and that's fine, but it doesn't bode super well for the goaltending that the Blue Jackets have been getting for most of the season. Goaltending, like I said earlier, it's kind of on an upswing at the minute. They're looking a lot better, Ducks game notwithstanding. The goaltending can be good. I think they stand much more of a chance. They've started showing flashes of offense from guys that are not named Johnny Gaudreau, which is nice. Jack Roslovic snapped an 18-game scoreless streak. Mathieu Olivier scored a goal, which I think surprised him more than basically anyone else on the ice. Goal from Nick Blankenburg in the Ducks game as well. He just came back from a broken ankle, which was really great to see. He's another guy that's missed a bunch of time. And he was a guy that he came into this league kind of as a no one. He signed out of college as a college free agent from Michigan, and then immediately was just like, well, I'm only 5'9", but I'm going to work harder than anyone else on the ice. And it's funny if you look at his stats on HockeyViz. I don't know what they look like at the minute, but earlier in the season, his stats on his own he's basically a replacement level player, but everyone else plays better when he's on the ice. And so I don't know if it's that he's just really good at motivating people, or if they just don't want to be shown up by someone who's comes up to here on them. But yes, he makes players around him better. So he was a big loss. So having him back has been really great. He scored against the Ducks. So, getting depth scoring from guys like that, like you said, literally anyone that's not Johnny Gaudreau or Patrick Laine scoring a goal is always a win. And yeah, just play the entire game, I think, which sounds dumb, but the Blue Jackets love to play 40 minutes of a hockey game and then be like, oh, should we go home now? No, you can't go home now. There's 20 minutes to play, or they'll have just a completely god-awful first period. And then
that's the Sharks too. Yep.
That was the Sharks in the second period to be like, oh, should we play some hockey?
Yes. Yeah. And I think the other thing that's going to be really interesting to see the 5-on-5 play. The Sharks are actually, it's interesting. The Sharks are actually actual just raw goals. They are 5th in the NHL in goals scored at 5-on-5 with 103. The Blue Jackets are 6th from the worst at 78. No, the Blackhawks are worse. But
okay.
But both these teams hemorrhage goals at 5-on-5. Both are tied at 121. The Sharks have played an extra game. Both have given up 121 5-on-5 goals. So this feels like maybe a game where the Blue Jackets offense can maybe find some rhythm here, especially against like I said, a Sharks defense that likes to, they'll play solid defensively, but then they just like have just utter brain farts and, let guys just kind of be wide open. So I think if this could be a game where I know maybe the might be a lot of goals in this game for some reason.
This feels like it feels like a trap. First of all,
for both teams.
Like a trap game. I don't know who for, but it definitely feels like a trap. This feels like one of those nightmare 7-6 games. I hate them.
No,
so
they're
much,
the best.
But that feels like what's going to happen. So I guess yay for people who like lots of scoring. And just I don't know that the Blue Jackets will win if they get into that kind of high scoring affair with a team like the Sharks, but it could get it's going to get a lot messy. The Blue Jackets do not know how to defend, and you can't make them, but it could be. I think that's my prediction for this game is because what I normally do is when we do squad casts like this is we'll predict final score and the player on your team that opens the scoring for your team. And so I think my prediction is going to be 7-6, but I don't know who. I don't know who's going to win. I just think that there's going to be like 13 goals scored. And in terms of opening the scoring, it feels like, you know what? It might be Gus Nyquist.
Again,
he feels like a guy that hasn't scored in a minute. And
Nyquist revenge game.
Yeah, Gus Nyquist. I deserve a Gus Nyquist revenge game. He's such a nice guy, and I feel like he deserves nice things. So that's my guess. I think is I've been wrong. I think every game except like 2, both in final score and prediction of who scores. But that's my prediction, and I'm sticking with it. So who's final? Okay, so final score. And who's going to score first for the Sharks?
I'm going to go 5-4 Sharks. I just think they have a little bit more offense of juice right now. Especially they just scored 4 on Ottinger and then tapped an empty netter as well. And then I don't think you can go wrong with Timo Meier scoring the first goal. Feels like it's a really safe bet most of the times. Is just picking Timo Meier, picking Erik Karlsson. You're probably going to.
I've been rotating Johnny Gaudreau and Patrick Laine around for the past couple of games, but I'm like, you know what? The Sharks are here. Gus Nyquist was a Shark for a minute.
The Gus Nyquist revenge game. I like it. Like I said, I think the Sharks win this game, but this is kind of the start of the end for their season because then they play like the Bruins teams. And the Cap. They play like these ridiculous teams for the next 8 games, all on the road. I know there's the All-Star break sandwich in there as well, but it is a brutal death march here getting started for the Sharks. So I think this is gonna be their last win for a while.
Yeah, this again that feels similar to the Blue Jackets. I don't know I think that their next game after this is the Flames, who have been struggling, and it's the return of Johnny Gaudreau to Calgary. So I'm sure that's going to be fun and not at all filled with mess. But
here's the Sharks schedule before they. So Blue Jackets, Bruins. These are all away. Blue Jackets, Bruins, Red Wings, Hurricanes, Penguins, Lightning, Panthers, Capitals. And then they finally get the Penguins at home on Valentine's Day. That is their next home game.
They could win the Red Wings game. There's a Red Wings game in there. Are
we sure?
I mean, I'm not sure, but I have slightly more faith in the Sharks than I do in the Blue Jackets. So we'll see. I think it'll be a fun game. I don't know whether it'll be a good game.
Yes,
and I think there's an important distinction to make there. But if people want to kind of learn more about the kind of season that Erik Karlsson is having, or they just want to, enjoy a hockey team that is fun, where can people find you and Locked On Sharks?
You can find me on Twitter at myfryhole, where the Erik Karlsson propaganda machine is running strong. You can listen, of course, wherever you get podcasts for free. And then, of course, you can subscribe on YouTube as well at Locked On Sharks for all that stuff. Yeah. Jay, where can people find you?
I can't in good conscience recommend that people pay attention to the Blue Jackets because usually when they get perceived by other people is when bad things happen. But you can find Locked On Blue Jackets wherever you get podcasts, wherever you get Locked On Sharks. We're over on YouTube. So if you want to hit subscribe over there, that really helps me out. It helps you out. You can find me at _Jacob Foster if you want some dog pictures or Star Wars opinions or just getting really, really angry about the state of diversity and inclusion in hockey. You can find that over at _ Jacob Foster, JAKOBFORSTER. And yeah, I think that's about it. Go Blue Jackets.
Bye, friends.
I guess.
Bye, friends.